Hello and welcome to On the Money podcast with John Manyike. I am certainly not John Manyike. And today we're speaking to a celebrated, well-known mother, sportcaster of note, Mpho Maboi.
Thank you for having me.
My word. You know we could have done this Koslahleni, right?
I know. I mean, just earlier on, you were taking me through your history with my parents, and I'm like, wow,
we could have
this is
done
such a
this
small
David
world.
We could have just from Kasia, Jabu Mahlangu,
You know what I mean?
Hollandanya, the home of Benoni United,
The home of Boom Shaka. You know?
We could have done this Kokasi.
Most definitely.
Tell me about yourself.
Mpho is a 43-year-old young lady, grew up ko Davidoni, as you've mentioned. I actually originally grew up ko Moki, Khumalo shop, the infamous Khumalo shop, yeah, Yizo.
There we go.
Right? Grew up there, went to, started off actually my schooling, Kodinkwanyane Primary, which was in Limpopo. Okay. Then after 3 terms, apparently I threw a fit and I said, I don't want to be here. I want to go back to Joburg. And then I went back to Gauteng. Wow. And then I went to school, ko Kgalema Primary. From Kgalema Primary, went to Benoni West. Benoni West went to Wordsworth High. Wow. And then I did my information technology, ko Wits Tech. But before then, I lie. I studied a first year, BCom, because I thought, I want to do my BCom. I want to become a chartered accountant.
Why
After
not?
my first year, I was like, this is not really what I want to do, right? And then I studied information technology. I worked in the information technology space for a good few years.
Wow.
And then somewhere amongst all of that mess, the information, the broadcasting space found me. Wow. And that's where I've been for the past 20 years.
How did you go there? So you moved from programming and IT space into, did you always have that in mind, or is it something that completely took you by surprise? Was it always part of the plan?
It was not part of the plan, but I feel like at some other point it became an ambition to become part of YFM. Because in 1997, when YFM started, I was in matric. Wow. And I thought YFM was like the best thing since sliced bread. They were young DJs, they spoke our language. I could relate to these people. I was like, I want to work here. It sounds fun. And then one day, while part of IBM, I befriended a young lady who was a copywriter at YFM. And then one day she was like, come in for a voiceover. Let's just see what happens. Did the voiceover, and the voice of God, as it were, which is the voice that ends the advert, was DJ Fresh.
Wow.
That's how I got to meet Tato. That's how I got to meet Tato. So we met, we would chat here and there. And then one day I called in to do the office challenge, which was a quiz between 2 people in different offices. Right. I won the office challenge. And the rest is history.
And YFM won you over.
YFM won me over.
You won.
Yes.
But talk to me about your first job. So your first gig is in IT.
Yes.
Then I don't know if it was the 25 or the 30, and then you get paid the first time.
Yes.
Right? How was that feeling? Just describe that feeling for me.
So I started working in 2001 in my 3rd year of doing my information technology diploma. And we were just getting a stipend as interns because we were not official as yet. I think my first job, if I'm not mistaken, I was getting 2,500, which was a lot of money back then.
Did you go to Mama and Papa and say, so what do we do with that 2 grand?
My parents were like, it's your money. Do what you please.
And what did you do? What did you do? What was the first thing that you did with your first salary?
To be honest, I think I just blew it on stuff. I can't tell you one specific thing, but I just enjoyed the feeling of having money, and I literally just blew it. I mean, I'm 20 at the
and
time.
And you reach. Hey, man, you reach.
You know, this is like my first job. I just got 2.5.
Why not?
Reach, you know? So I literally just blew it. And then after that, I think I was working 2 days a week. And then we increased my days to, I think it was 4 a week.
Yeah.
And that means your stipend increases.
Increases, yes.
So I remember for my 21st birthday, I bought myself a car.
Wait, let's go back.
I know.
So you're 21.
Yes.
And you buy yourself
I bought myself a car.
a car.
Yes.
And Mama and Papa okay with that, right?
They were fine with it because remember, their thing was, we don't want anything from you. There is no obligation for you to assist Mochaye. We're still working.
There we
We're
go.
okay.
There we go.
So do what you think is necessary with your money. And the reason I decided to buy a car was actually a funny story. So being this student, I'm living by myself, and you know, you go to the taxis, you catch a taxi in the morning, you catch a taxi in the evening, you go home. And the one time I'm from work, I'm wearing a power suit, I'm in my heels,
Of course,
I
yes.
come from the taxi rank, and it rains. You know those suddenly it's black, and I'm like, what's happening? It poured.
Wow.
Like it poured. You know when you're so wet down into your shoes.
Oh my goodness.
I was that wet. I get back to my place, I, jump into the bathtub, and I cried.
And you say, I can't do this.
I cried, and I said, this is not going to be my life.
I am not doing
This
this.
is not going to be me.
Porsche, here I come.
Literally, I went and I bought a car. The very next day, I was like, I'm applying for a car. I need to get a car. Tabayadi taxi.
Never. I'm
It's
done.
not going to be my life.
But-
Fortunately, the means were there.
Wow. I'm glad that at least you had such a positive start, particularly from the parents. But would you say they played a role in terms of how you manage your money?
Oh, yes.
And the influence. How is that influence?
Oh, definitely. So the one thing that I've always appreciated about my parents, we had a very open family in the sense that my mother and father would sit down with us every month and say, this is the budget for the month. If you need anything to be put in for this month,
Wow.
put it in now. If you don't put it in now, it defers to the following month. So we always knew that you must work within the budget, ya mutlu, right? So there was no, kids of today just come up and say, hey, this and that is needed at
PS5
school.
selling
And
their
you
need.
No,
On the 12th.
there was no time for that. You literally had to stick to the monthly budget for that particular month. So we knew there was a system, and then you understood as well. So when 10 Rand comes in, you sort of allocate each little cent for what it is meant for. You don't just say, 10 Rand is in, let me go eat out and then kitabona what happens with the rest. No, there is structure to this money. So it helped me understand the concept of a budget and the importance of sticking to a budget
Did
as
you
well.
did you take that into your future life, into your future self, into your mommy self?
In the beginning, I'm going to be very honest. In the beginning, I did not. Like I said, I was just enjoying her. Oh, I'm young, I've got money. And the mind is such a stupid thing. We always assume we have time.
True.
You're like, no, all those other
You're
stuff.
going to get old.
Yeah, I'll see
You'll
them.
get there.
So I also did get into that trap of you're opening accounts, you're getting yourself into debt, and then you're thinking, you know what? I'm just buying and buying and buying, up until such time as you are having that call that you don't want to get.
Talk to me about that. Just take me through that. Take me through that.
It is such an uncomfortable call.
That 9:05. Somebody calls.
Somebody calls and
How
says,
did we get into that firstly?
because I was young and I thought I have all this money, and then I didn't implement the concept of the budget. Now you find yourself living beyond your means. And because you're living beyond your means and because you're corporate, you're like, no, I need corporate wear, but I can't now add it into my budget because I'm living beyond my means. You open an account and you open the account, and then these companies are also very smart. The more you spend, the more spending they give you.
Of course, yes.
So now you're like, so we've moved from a 2,000 that I can buy with, now we're sitting at 10,000. You're forgetting that within this 10,000, you need to pay back.
And it's not your money.
Your money.
It is somebody else's money.
It's someone else's money.
Wow.
So now you find yourself struggling to even keep up with those payments.
Wow.
And when you do get that call to say, you owe us, by the way.
Yes.
When are you paying us?
Wow.
Now you start doing more. I don't answer private numbers. No, it's not that you don't answer private numbers.
You don't answer this private.
Yeah. You know what you've done,
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was a very uncomfortable space that I went through. And then, I don't know, a light bulb came in. I was like, actually, there's no need for clothing accounts and whatnot. If I cannot afford it in cash,
Yep.
I'm not buying.
When did that light bulb moment happen then?
I think it was when it was very uncomfortable carrying my phone Just the process of carrying my phone became very uncomfortable because every second, third call is someone asking for their money. And then you get to that point where you're like, okay, fine, let us restrict how we're living for a small time so that we can get rid of this debt. When we've gotten rid of this debt, then we will start living within our means.
Okay.
If I can't afford it in cash, I can't afford it at all.
Wow.
It's okay. But with that said as well, I think motherhood sobers you up. Yeah.
So that happening, the phone calls.
This was still in my 20s.
Okay.
Yes, this
so
was still in my 20s.
Comes in later.
Comes
but
in
talk
later.
to me about getting out of that. Was there any particular strategy that you followed? Are there any pearls of wisdom that you can share with us in terms of extricating ourselves out of debt?
So I found, I don't know, what is it called? The Snowball.
Yes.
I think that's what it's called.
The snowball approach.
Yes, the snowball approach. So you pay off this debt, and then when it's paid off, you take that money you were paying here, you go add it onto what you were paying for the next one.
Wow.
So you now have a shorter period to pay this one because there's more money from the previous debt.
Wow.
And then by the time you get to the third one, you have even more money and a shorter period to pay. So literally, I used that snowball strategy to get myself out of debt. And I'm glad I actually did because, my 20s became very uncomfortable.
But psychologically, what happened? What did it do to you knowing that, hey, I'm out of debt.
Oh, what a relief.
Right. Did you somehow lapse back, or do you learn from it and move on?
Oh no, I've made sure that I do not lapse back. Nice. I've tried to be like, okay, we have to live within this jar and take it from there. But we're trying not to relapse, even though adulting comes with its challenges, and sometimes you get tempted.
Yes.
Especially like now when you have a child and you're like, no man, on holiday because school holiday.
Yes.
Then you're like, no.
Hang
if
on.
we can't pay for it in cash,
it's
okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's
right.
okay.
So that's IBM days.
Yes.
We got into a mess.
Yeah.
And now we're moving on with life, second job. Right?
Yes.
Was it part of the plan? Was it just, hey, I'm here now, I've done the voiceovers, I've won the competition.
Yeah.
I'm ready to take on a new big world. How does that affect you planning, particularly from a financial point of view?
So the nice thing about when I started working at YFM is that I was still very much a part of that information technology space. So for some time I was actually juggling the two, and now I'm full-time this side, so you have a nice paycheck, but also there is this side where you're still trying to find yourself and find your feet, and financially you're not sure what's happening. You're just like, you know what, it's okay. We're starting out, we'll see what happens. Yeah. But even with that, psychologically, there is that level of, so we're here. There's this fame that comes in.
Yeah.
And with fame, there is an element of responsibility that comes with it. Because when you're young and the fame comes in, you fall into the trap of trying to please people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. You try to please people because you're like, okay, so I can't be seen driving such and such a car.
All right.
My car needs
I
to
want
be
us
better.
to explore that. So we check you out, right?
Yes.
And say, no, okay, I'm going to have this session.
Yeah.
And then something pops up like, polo. Okay, we'll talk about the polo thing later on.
The polo thing?
Right?
Yes.
But would you say, in that spirit of being a people pleaser, would you regard yourself as a people? Look, do you get those texts or calls that, hey, ngwana abuti, grocery nyana, or how do you deal with that?
I think I'm fortunate in the sense that I've never had to deal with what people call black tax, because as I say, my parents are okay, my siblings are okay. On the odd occasion, yes, you will have a sibling who says, listen, I'll see you come at the end of the month. So that is there. If the means are there, I will give it to you. But the one thing I've learned with my siblings is that what you give is what you don't expect back.
It's done. It's a write-off.
On
alone. It's
Hawa Adima.
Yeah.
You gave.
Okay.
So also that made me develop a mentality of, if I cannot afford to write it off, I don't give it. You know, but from a people pleaser perspective, in my 20s, yes, I was. I was quite the people pleaser. I wanted to be liked.
I was about to say, was it because you wanted to be liked?
Yeah.
Was it a sense of being validated, perhaps?
It is a sense of wanting to be validated. It is a sense of wanting to be liked. It's like all mixed into one, because you're young. You yourself are still in the finding yourself space. But then now there is all these other eyes that are in the space that don't need to be in the space, but they're there. And then you have external voices as well saying, no, you're hanging a little fresh, a little bad boy too. Why are you driving this car? Your car must be better. Why are you living here? You must go live over there. Why are you wearing this? You must go wear that, you know? And that is exactly how you find yourself in debt. Because now you are trying to make everybody happy. You forget that it comes at a great personal expense.
And trying to impress us.
And trying to impress people. Now you are at a bar, Thabo Hollo, come, let's have drinks. And then you get there and you're like, no, it's fine, don't worry, I got the bill.
I got this.
I got this.
Wow.
That time you don't got this.
I want your youth. I want your youth. Now, youth ends somewhere, right?
Yes,
There's a line where suddenly youth ends, then we start families.
Yes.
Then we start thinking about marriage, kids, you know, expanding the head, etc. Was there a particular plan in mind in terms of starting the family, just from a financial point of view? Or was it, hey, oopsie, we're pregnant, oopsie, we married?
I'd always wanted to be a mother, but I knew that I didn't want to do it within my 20s. I knew my 20s are not the time.
Not for mothering.
Not for mothering, ke busy. I'm too busy living. So in my 30s, that's where I was like, okay, fine. I think I'm financially ready. Because my biggest thing, and this might seem controversial, my biggest thing is that from a female perspective, I think the woman needs to be ready financially to have a child before she decides to have a child. Because Lena, hey, la rechinchela, man.
Hey, Bona.
Hey.
We'll get to that. We'll get to that.
No, not even in a negative way. You know, I've seen so many women say, no, we planned the pregnancy and everything was fine. And then when baby is there, how? Suddenly,
poof, gone.
Suddenly Mutu is like, no, but how do I even know that's my baby? How? What do you mean? We planned this baby together. So I've always advised young ladies, you need to be financially ready for a child. Be ready for any financial eventuality. Know which schools you are comfortable taking your kid to, with or without the man. Then you'll be fine. If he chooses to be on the journey with you, brilliant. But if he chooses not to be on the journey with you, do not find yourself at a disadvantage, because that personal disadvantage also disadvantages your child. It's no longer just about you now. It's about this human being who didn't ask to be brought here, by the way. They didn't ask to be brought here. So put yourself in a situation where you are comfortable financially, and the rest, well, we shall see.
But let's explore that a little bit. Let's talk about, we're dating, right?
Okay.
Do we talk about finances? When do we start talking about finances in that space? Or do we leave it up until zwang, and then we start talking? Do we even talk about it even after the zwang era?
To be honest with you, and I think this is a predominantly black thing. I don't know if other races, I can only speak for my race. I think predominantly as black people, we don't like to talk about money, because money is a very uncomfortable conversation, right? I probably grew up in a difficult background, and now that I've got my money, I don't want somebody coming in and telling me how I must spend my money. But also there is that burden for men who feel like, if I now disclose gore ke gola 5 rand, only to find gore o tlisa 15 rand. Does that change the dynamics in the relationship?
Does it emasculate me?
Does that emasculate me? You know, so people generally find it very uncomfortable to talk about money, oftentimes until it's too late. So even when people get married, a lot of us don't do premarital counseling, because as part of premarital counseling, you talk finances. And you must be very honest and open, you know? But now a lot of people have adopted this thing, my money is my money, it's none of your business. You know, and then you're like, okay, but you can't be two entities where I don't know what the left doesn't know what the right is doing, the right doesn't know what the left is doing. And then we're going to find ourselves in trouble at some point, because also if you made the mistake of being married in community of property, now when we get divorced, I'm like, wait, how much debt do you have?
Because we didn't discuss
what's
this.
happening here, you know? Or I've had conversations with guys who say, we are married out of community of property, but because this person is so financially irresponsible, I find myself constantly having to rescue them.
Anyway.
And that is creating friction within the marriage. But it's, again, comes back to, from the genesis, we don't talk
about
money. We don't. We do not.
We'll get to that piece. The rumors that I heard was, it's when it comes to ladies and gents, it's my money.
Yes.
And
no, your money is
mine,
your money is our money,
yes,
and my money is my
your
money.
Right?
Yes.
How true is that?
In a lot of relationships, that is true. I get it. Okay, wait. Let's be honest. And this is generally what happens. Tibos likes me. Tibos comes to me and promises me a particular lifestyle. So oshelaka chelete, you are leading with money. So guess what? You've already said finances determine the structure of this relationship. Right. So then I say, oh, okay, so then that means my 5 rand doesn't matter. So my 5 rand is my 5 rand. In fact, you will find guys who say, it's your money. It has nothing to do with us. Do what you need to do.
Go do your nails.
Exactly.
That's how.
Me, I will add 10 rand every end of the month, you know?
Wow.
So I think that is where that comes from. So even when it comes to like a marriage, a lot of guys are uncomfortable to then have that conversation to say, listen, I know I promised you a particular lifestyle. I can now no longer afford that lifestyle. Is there a way for us to pool our resources and see how we function?
Wow.
Because, I mean, this was my value proposition to you.
Yes.
It's no longer there.
Do we have those honest conversations?
A lot of people don't.
We don't have those.
We
those
don't
conversations.
have those conversations.
So I go on search engines.
Yeah.
And then the first thing that comes up, you'll never guess.
Oh, that I'm a gold digger.
Mpho Maboi opens up about her divorce.
Yes.
It's like, couldn't we just say something else then?
Oh, no.
On number 5, say.
Clickbait.
Right?
Yeah,
All right.
clickbait.
Let's talk about that. Financially,
were
you ready when that moment hits? When you say, click, you know what? I can't do this.
Yeah.
I'm not happy. But then what were the financial considerations when that happened?
You see, the nice thing about myself and my ex-husband, we got married out of community of property. And that was something I personally insisted on because I felt he, contrary to what people think, he stood to lose more because he came in with more into this union, right? So when you have more coming into the pot, I also need to have the conscious of mind to say, let me protect you as well. Should things not work out, you shouldn't walk away with absolutely nothing because of my involvement in this union. So when we decided, listen, this is not working anymore, there wasn't much to divide because, I mean, what you came in with, that's yours. What I came in with, that's what I came in with, that's mine. So that made even the divorce process very simple. The only thing that was just the obligation to the child. That was it. The rest was very clear. I want nothing from you, you want nothing from me.
Absolutely.
Continue with our lives separately. So that whole gold digger thing is, it's the funniest thing to me.
I can imagine it's stressful though.
Not even, huh? I think I would be stressed if I felt like I was ever in the marriage for financial reasons. That was never even part of the equation. So when you now leave something that was not part of, you leave with a very clear conscience. Even till today, we've never actually given the reason why we got divorced. That's why everyone is speculating as to what the reason is.
Is this where we break the story? No. Too ambitious?
No. I'll tell you this much. It was too many reasons.
Okay.
And I think this is more a female thing. So as women, we go through a relationship for however long. So we were together for 11 years. And as time goes, you know, Tibos does things and I'm like, Tibos, I don't like it when you do this. After some time, you're building a bit of resentment towards things.
I hear you.
And you take this little bit of resentment, you put it in the pot. And then another resentment, you put that in the pot. So by the time you say, no,
it's done.
It's not one specific reason.
I hear you.
It's a collection of many small things that have been happening.
Building up for forever.
Exactly. Wow. So it's not one specific reason. It's just a lot of small things.
I hear you. No, I got that. I'm taking my little notes on the side. So you've learned lessons from Papa and Mama in terms of budgeting, right?
Yes.
you've learned the hard way the cruelty of debt and
Yeah.
not being able to.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Then we go into a space where you start accumulating assets. And do you talk to your kids about this? And if you were to talk to your younger self, what financial tips would you give your younger self?
You know, to be honest with you, I've been very terrible in having very honest conversations with my son. I must say, because he's my only child, he's a little bit spoiled. So I've become that parent that says, whatever it is you need, it's fine. If the means are there, it's fine. Let's go get it. And, you know, as long as you're happy.
All right.
Right? But now that he's getting into his teenage years, this is where I've literally been sitting with myself and saying, I'm actually disempowering him. Because I'm not teaching him the realities of life. Yes, you might be living this life now with your mom because she can afford. I don't know what's going to happen to you when you start working. You might find yourself in a situation you can't afford this lifestyle that mama has been giving you all these years. I need to equip you to be able to live within your means, to be able to budget and know hore budgets we stick to. But now, because there's only one person that I'm responsible for, I tend to have a surplus. And whatever he wants, he gets.
Wow.
But like I say, it's disempowering. It's actually not a good thing.
I hear you.
It's not spoiling our kids is not
That's
a good thing. It's we actually disempower our children. But unfortunately, a lot of them only realize later in life when they start their own lives.
Wow.
Hore, hi man, this life that I was living at home, I can't afford it. So then what happens? You get depressed. You go into like a massive depression.
Because of the lifestyle that we cannot afford.
And then people sit there and they say, oh my gosh, I'm poor. You're like, but you were never rich to begin off with. Your parents were rich. you know? So when people will be like, yeah, Tinagiti, we have a, you're like, no.
Not
your parents
not
have
all
that.
Of you.
You don't.
Them.
You have nothing, by the way. You do not have a single asset to your name.
My goodness.
You know, so we need to teach our children the realities of their lives. Just the other day, we were having a conversation with my son. He wasn't doing well at school. And I said to him, I'm not going to spend X amount of money paying for school fees for someone who thinks that when it's study time, he's going to sit on PlayStation and play with his friends. He got the shock of his life. He was like, wait, that's how much you're paying for school fees? I was like, child.
Wow.
How much did you think I was paying? But for him, it was like such a massive eye-opener. It was a light bulb moment to say, you think this life you're living is like, it's cheap.
Free.
You know, it's cheap, it's free.
But it is
but
for
it's
him.
For him. But, you know, when you're waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning to go Khereza.
There we go.
Hey,
we gotta put these numbers, and these numbers are not numbery.
It's not easy at all.
No, Kelebo. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Lessons from Papa. Getting ourselves into a mess, getting ourselves out of mess, starting to build up, talking to our kids, going through the toughest moment, and you still standing.
Still standing.
Congratulations, well done, and we celebrate you. Thank you very much, guys.